introduce you to our main speaker. This is very special for me as well to be able to introduce him. We are extremely honored to receive our next guest. His name is Theodore Fairhurst, and you may know his name because on December 9th, 2018, at the age of 71 and 235 days, so almost 72, Theodore Fairhurst became the oldest person in the world, first North American, and 9th person in history to have scaled all the 7 summits and the volcanic 7 summits. He is an entrepreneur, he is an artist, he is a high altitude mountaineer, public speaker, author. Join me in welcoming the very fantastic Theodore Fairhurst. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Kim. That's pretty nice, all the things you said about me. Today, I want to take you from BASECAMP Everest to the summit. But before I do that, I want to just talk to you. I want to bring you back, actually, 64 years in time in my life to when I was about 10 years old. And my brother, who was 6 years older than me, he, one of his friends, Jimmy, came up to me one day and he said, "You know, Ted, I want to experience everything I can in life. I don't want to miss out on any opportunities that come along." And I think that kind of advice really impacted me. You know, I even though I was only 10, it sort of struck me between the eyes. I still remember it to this day. Anyways, when I turned 22, I decided I just need to stretch my legs. I got to go travel and see the world. And I bought an airline ticket to Scotland, hitchhiked around Scotland and England for a couple of weeks. And finally, one morning, I had my thumb out in Canterbury, England, going to Dover to catch a ferry to France. And this guy stops and picks me up. He's an American taxi driver living in California, driving a camper van. And we chat and we get to the ferry and we cross over. And on the way over, his name is Dan Hirsch. And he looks at me and he said, "I'm going to Afghanistan. Any chance you're interested?" Hey, listen, you know, I wasn't planning to go, only but to Europe and ski for a while and travel around until my money ran out. But how could I refuse an opportunity like that? So, of course, I said, "Yeah, if you could put up with me, I'll be delighted to go." I was kind of being a little bit of a blank canvas, just open to that opportunity, you know. So we crossed Europe, Eastern Europe, to Turkey, and got to Istanbul, crossed the Dardanelles, continued on over the mountains in Turkey to Iran, and crossed Iran to Afghanistan and into Kandahar. And after about a week or so, he had business to do as he was going back to Europe. I continued on up to Kabul, and then I took a bus to Pakistan and got to the border with India, took a train to New Delhi. And after a couple of weeks, I heard about this country called Nepal, this kingdom up in the Himalayas, right in the middle of the Himalayas. So I figured that would be a pretty cool place to go to. So I got on a bus and I went up to Kathmandu. And when I arrived that day in Kathmandu, I found a hostel. And in the hostel was this New Zealand guy. He was a climber. And he had just come back that very day from spending 4 weeks up in the mountains, crossing the mountains to the base of Mount Everest. And he started to tell me his story. Man, that story, it so rocked me, it so moved me that within about a minute or two, I think I just knew I had to go and try to do it too. The problem was I didn't have any mountaineering experience. I didn't know anything about it, but I just knew in my gut I had to go do that. So went to the market next few days and I bought some used hiking climbing boots. You know, mistake number one, you never buy boots that somebody else has already worn. They're not shaped to your feet. You're going to suffer. And I bought some rice, lots of rice and a cooker and some food and that. And I went off into the mountains. And I went over these passes and down into valleys and back over higher kind of ice-covered passes and down into tropical valleys and crossed over these suspension bridges, you know, the ones made of rope over these huge raging rivers, got lost, I don't know how many times. But finally, I did get up to the Khumbu Glacier, and I climbed the glacier up to the foot of Mount Everest, which is about 5,300 meters, 18,000 feet. By the time I got back to Kathmandu, it was 32 days later. I did it. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it. I got it done. And I kind of realized three kind of lessons from that trip, from that adventure, that challenge. I realized the first thing was people change people. That New Zealand climber, who I've never met him since, he literally changed me. He so inspired me to take on something that I had no knowledge about, that I never had done before. The second thing I learned was that if I could do that, I could do anything. Here I am, a 22-year-old kid, and I just did something, but 32 days, if I could do that, I could do anything. And the third thing I learned was to be a blank canvas, to be open to opportunities. So this is me in 1969, as I mentioned before, in the Himalaya Mountains. Mount Everest is right over my head at 8,850 meters, 48 meters. And Amadablan, right over to the right of me, it's a famous mountain. But as I mentioned, climbing between base camp and the summit is a whole different ball game. It takes an awful lot of determination. It takes living on rock and ice for about 60 days. That's how long it takes to climb Everest, 60, 65 days. The next thing I want to do is share with you a Discovery Channel video of what it takes from base camp to climb Mount Everest. So here we were at base camp. We're climbing up through the Khumbu Glacier, picking our way through that crevasse field. It's a massive crevasse field. It goes up, these huge pillars of ice, and moves about a meter a day, this glacier coming down. So it's always changing. So over here is Camp 1. You move over to the right side to avoid that huge crevasse field, and you climb up through what's called the Western Khum. So here's Camp 2. You move over to the right, go around another huge crevasse field, and then you're coming up to what's called the Lhotse face. Climbing up this Lhotse face, it's like rock hard ice, like cement. You have to really jam your crampons in to get a bite. The last time I was up there, the fourth time, I guess, I had to, we get hit by about 125 km/h winds. So you cross over there. The next thing is the Geneva Spur you climb up. And once you get over to the top, you move over to the South Col, which is Camp 4 at 8,000 meters. You start climbing at nighttime. I started at 8 p.m. that night, climbed all night long with a headlight, moved up. There's only one place on the mountain you can take a break. It's the balcony, what's called the balcony. And you can sit down for a few minutes, but it's about 40 below when you're up there. So you don't sit for long. You will just literally freeze up. You climb up what's called the Hillary Step. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And you move right up to the summit of the mountain, the highest point on Earth. I occupied that summit for 15 minutes by myself. So here is Camp 4. I want to show you inside that red circle is a climber. You can just see the perspective of the mountain. This is what it sounds like for the next 12 hours of your life, breathing 5 to 7 breaths per step. The Kangshung face, I think you'll get a perspective also of about living on the edge. See that climber, to the left of that climber, there's a 3,500 meter drop straight down into Tibet. I don't think there's anything I've ever done in life. I've been so alive as I was on Everest, and particularly above Camp 3, Camp 4. You know, just all your senses are just on fire. They have to be. You know, you're on your toes. You have to focus on every step you make. And that's all you think about for 12 hours is your next step. The Hillary step is the last major thing you have to climb to deal with. It's about a 15-meter rock wall of rock and ice. You have to get up there. Many climbers over the years have got to the foot and not been able to get up. People have died in the ropes coming down. So here I am on the summit, 48 meters. It's been a 40-year dream since I was there in 1969, 1970. I did it. My team, you know, we were from South Africa, from India, from Germany, the US, and myself, Canadian. We were so connected. You know, we lived together, of course, for 60 days. We look after each other's back. We protect each other. We inspire each other. There's only 14 mountains in the world over 8,000 meters. Everest, of course, is the highest. When a team is connected like that, you can accomplish anything. It's amazing how important that is for your success. You don't reach great goals without passion, vital focus. On Everest, it was what kept you alive. Focus one step at a time. And of course, resilience. But you don't have these qualities, you know, just automatically. You have to develop them. You have to want to have them. You have to work hard to accomplish, to get that experience about what you want in life, and about how to focus, and about how to be resilient. All your senses have to be on fire. You know, as I mentioned before, you know, when your senses are on fire, when you're alive like that, you are so connected to yourself, who you are, and what you want, and how, and thinking, you know, outside the box. Team spirit is so vital. You know, 90% won't get you to the summit. You got to put in 100%. But when you do, you feel so proud of yourself. You know the difference. It's clear. 100% will get you to the top. Really know why you do what you do. Really know why. It seems kind of obvious, I know, but I can tell you something, that on Everest, when we would go back down to base camp, and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but we basically climbed Everest 4 times. We climb up to Camp 1, then we climb back down to base camp. Then the next rotation, we go up to Camp 2, spend a few days, build camp, climb back down to base camp. Then we go up to Camp 3, back down, and then we are ready for our summit bid. After 3-4 weeks, I would see climbers heading down the glacier, heading down the valley, going home. Why? Because they were missing their family, missing their kids. They had different reasons. But effectively, why they were giving up is because they hadn't completely thought through why they were there. They sounded cool, but were they willing and ready to pay the price to deal with living on rock on ice for so long, for 60 days, for getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, for pushing themselves to the nth degree? No, a lot of them were going down valley, not from our team, but from other teams. Know why you do what you do. Solutions always exist. People change people. People inspire people, just like that New Zealand climber inspired me way back when in 1969. Be open to other people's great ideas. And you gotta be a blank canvas. That is so important in life, to be a blank canvas, to be open to whatever comes along. And never, ever lose your shining eyes. That's what makes you alive and connected, on your toes, and happy and proud. Thank you.